Hello, listeners. My name is Charles Scott. The program is called Can We Talk? And I'm here with my son, Charles Scott Jr.
How you guys doing tonight?
Today is a hot day out there.
Very hot. Scorcher out there, right?
I believe in, I can't say I think I believe it, I believe in global warming.
Yeah, right?
So,
it's got to be a fact.
The housing market has gotten hot and the earth has gotten hot and everything is heating up. So we're here to give you some information about what's happening in the housing industry and also what's happening as far as the economy.
Yes.
And give you some tips that may help you in your day-to-day buying, planning,
Yes.
and home buying, whatever it may be, or home selling.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my name is Charles Scott. I'm the broker for Tri-State Realty. We've been in business for over 37 years. And my son, he's also a broker.
Yes, for 15 years.
For 15 years.
Yes.
So we've been around for a while, combined total 50 years
Yeah,
of,
just
of,
about.
of experience here.
Yes, a lot of experience. We can help the people and help
That's
them
it.
move forward, whether they're renting or whether they're purchasing, any aspect of real estate, and also business in general.
And it
Yes.
doesn't cost you any money to call us to get any
Nope.
information and
Not at all.
find out some of the things that we've experienced and
Yes.
different situations that we've been through.
Yes.
Well,
now,
go
I was
ahead.
going to say, what we saw in the last couple weeks, I see in the news right now, the trend is people are seeing that, CNN, CNBC are saying the real estate market is slowing down, cooling off. Well, the thing is, although it is cooling off, I'll say when you get down to the numbers of it, let's say a house was up, let's say 30%, over the average price. Maybe we're down 10%. So we're still above 20%. We're still up. I would say the market is still very, very hot, as they would say. Because, you list a house, may take an extra 15 to 20 days to sell, but the fact is selling within 2 months is still more progressive than the average market we're used to.
Right. Not only that, one of the terms in real estate is all real estate is local. So what's
Yes.
happening in one area doesn't mean that it's happening in another area.
Yes.
You may have a relative that lives in another state 1,000 miles away and they're giving you advice as to what's happening in that area. That doesn't mean it's happening here.
Very true.
In some cases, if you look at a city, prices on one side of the city are completely different from the other side of the city.
Yes.
So it's all different. And when you look at some of these national websites like Zillow,
Yes.
Realtor.com, they go on what they call the algorithms, or they put all this information into a computer and they come up with an average price.
Yes.
So that computer doesn't know anything about the neighborhood or the area. So if you,
For example, I was
know,
going to say, we just saw today on Zillow. Zillow gave us a rent estimate for a house we saw, in Waterbury. We're like, no, you can get more for that. So it's based off of algorithms. It's a man-made robot that gives these prices. That's what we tell people. Take Zillow with a grain of salt. I mean, it's somewhat accurate, but always consult a realtor. Give us a call. We'll look more deeper into that particular property and find out the true aspects of it.
Actually, we work with the multiple listing service.
Exactly.
And now the multiple listing service, that's like what they call it, real time. In other words, a lot of people out there may not understand, where does the real estate agent get their listings from? We want to today sort of give you an idea and explain to you how that works.
Exactly.
When you look at, let's say for example, you want to look up a property and you're out there in the general audience, you may look up a site called Zillow. That's the most well-known. Everybody knows about
Everybody
Zillow.
knows Zillow.
There's Realtor.com.
Yes.
There's Trulia.
Redfin.
Redfin. There's several websites out there. Those are not real estate companies. People get them mistaken for a real estate company.
Exactly.
What they are is marketing companies.
They are marketing companies.
You and I could start one of those, and we could just go ahead and say, and get a computer and program the computer to look up sales and put information in there, and we would program the computer
Yes.
to let us know about all of the sales that were closed properties, where property was actually sold. But the computer doesn't have the expertise to look and see, well, why was that property sold for less? Maybe it was between friends. Maybe the mother and father sold the house to their son or daughter.
Could be a damage. Could be a tree on the house.
Could have been.
We've
we
seen
got,
that
we,
recently.
got, we got one of those. Could be a tree on the house that fell down. So it could be a foreclosure. So the house was foreclosed. It could be what they call a short sale, where the house is sold for a lot less money. So those kinds of properties can be sold for a lot less money So the computer can pick that up, and the computer will automatically downplay all of the other properties. So you're
Yes.
not getting a real, true, accurate reading of what the property is selling for.
What people don't realize, when you look on Zillow, whether it be your phone or computer, scroll always, I think they hide this on purpose. At the very bottom, it tells you when they update that listing. And sometimes you'll see, for example, today, August 8th, it may say updated August 7th at 5 p.m. You're not getting the most accurate information. The house could be under deposit. The house could have been taken off the market. There could have been a price change. The fact is, when you look at a house on Zillow, remember, you're looking at past information.
Right.
Make sure you consult a realtor for the most real-time information.
So what we do is we use information from the multiple listing service. Now, the multiple listing service, that's I guess it's a company or an agency that compiles all of the properties, what's for sale, what's sold,
Yep.
the rents, everything, all this information, and all of the real estate agents subscribe to it. We pay a fee.
Yes, we
I
do.
think the fee is somewhere it's over $1,000 a year
Yes.
that we have to pay to be able to go in and look at this multiple listing service. And their information has to be accurate.
Has to be.
So it changes almost every hour on the hour. Or matter of fact, it's instantly.
It's instant, right?
If we go in and we list the property and we go ahead and we put in the information, right away, we can check it 2 minutes later and the information is right there.
Exactly.
So our information is up to date. Now, if you walked into our office and you wanted to buy a property, we would go onto that website and we would look at that website, and then we would say, well, actually that service, and it would tell us all of the properties that are available, and then we would turn around and then we would look up that particular property.
Yes.
And then we would say, okay, this property is available for sale. Or if it's sold, then we would say, okay, this property has been sold.
And some people, I was going to say, don't realize that every realtor has access to this, and it's not like you can go to one realtor and see certain houses. It's information for all realtors to share in order to make deals. That's why we're all subscribed to them.
Right. All the real estate agents share that information. So therefore, one real estate agent could call another real estate agent to see what's available, and then we could take you out and we could show you. If you come all the way from another area, another city, it doesn't make sense for us to turn around and just show you one property.
Exactly.
So there may be 5 or 6 properties that we will set up at the same time that we can show you. So therefore, we want to make sure that the properties are still on the market, the properties are still available.
Yes.
Now, we are obligated in our contract with them that if we sell a property, we have to notify them within, 24 hours?
24 hours, yes.
So therefore, everything is right up to date with the multiple listing service. So therefore, you're getting the up-to-date information. So when we are sitting here, we reviewing all this information before we come in and talk to you.
Exactly. And also, I was going to say more to that. When people come to a realtor, make sure you have a pre-approval. Some people may hear this news and say, I'm going right to the office, we're looking up 10 houses. Make sure you have a pre-approval, because then that's going to say, okay, what is my budget?
Right.
You can't go shopping if you don't have a budget for a house. You can't just say, okay, this is the house I want. You have to go to a loan officer, get pre-approved. Now, some people may say, I have a pre-qualification. Yes, but pre-approve is more thorough. They go through your credit, your debt to income ratio, and they give you a number that say, okay, you go find a realtor, you find a house, and we give you a set amount of time to use this pre-approval to basically finance the house.
And also to add to that, I admonish everyone out there, if you are looking to purchase a property, or if you've already been pre-approved, go back and get pre-approved all over again, or have
Yes.
your mortgage person update your information.
Update.
Because what's happening is, as the interest rates have changed, so are the numbers changing on your pre-approval or your pre-qualification. Because with the interest rate going up, that means you would qualify for less money. Because now it's going to cost a little bit more for that particular mortgage. So all of these things have to be taken into consideration, and you have to have your mortgage company review it. I have a situation recently that just happened today to give you an idea as to how the mortgages work. Had a person who was buying a condo and was pre-approved for the condo, and everything was all set to go, put an offer in, and she put an offer in. We are the listing agents, we have the property for sale.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden we get the call from the mortgage person, this person no longer qualifies for that mortgage program.
Nope.
And so remember, when you get pre-approved and you put an offer in, the seller is looking at different situations. So
Yes.
therefore, if anything may change, and things have happened in the past with other types of situations, in this particular case, this property was out of town. And so therefore, it's something that can be corrected, because the person actually has to either put more money down or whatever it may be. In a single-family house, this also happens, because with a single-family house, what happens is that they base it on what they call debt-to-income ratios.
Yes.
With a debt-to-income ratio, I always admonish people, do not go out and spend any money. Do
No.
not go out and buy a new car.
What do we hear sometimes? Oh, we're buying the furniture. You haven't bought the house yet.
No.
Don't finance the furniture.
And don't fall for the trap from the what do you call it, the furniture company.
Oh, yes.
No payments for
Well,
until 12 months.
Yeah.
Next year. It sounds
That's still
good.
debt on your credit.
It sounds good.
Sounds great.
Like, how can they, and you may say, well, how can they charge me on my credit for a bill that I didn't start yet?
Didn't start yet.
I'm not paying on that, so it's not debt. But you've already signed the
You already
contract.
signed the line.
You're just waiting to buy the house to have them deliver the furniture. So the bank looks at that as debt, because you are still going to be paying it, even though it's in the future.
Exactly.
You signed before you bought the house. Now, if you waited until you bought the house, you can get furniture, new car, take a vacation, do whatever you want.
Yes, once closing happens, you own the house, you have the keys, then you can finance the new car, finance the furniture. Oh, also you have to make sure you stay on budget. That mortgage note comes every 4 weeks, every month.
That's right.
Remember that.
That's right. So you got to make sure that you have a budget, and stay, like my son said, stay on your
Stay on
budget.
your budget.
Some people, they go out, they got the house, now they got the house, now
They
I
got
got
to
to
fill
buy
it with
the
nice
car.
furniture. Can't use my old furniture from the apartment, Mr.
That's
Scott.
right. Got to get the furniture, got to get the new clothes to go
New
with the
car.
look, new car.
The driveway's big. I need 2 cars.
Got to add a bathroom. Next thing you know, they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing that. We have some people who have bought homes, and it's probably a year or so they bought the house, and you go in the living room and it's still empty.
Still empty.
They have not bought any furniture for the living room. You might say, well, what are they buying a house for? Because they're doing it in steps.
Exactly. Everything steps.
They have their budget. They stick to their budget. They might have a bedroom that's extra guest room. It's empty. There's nothing there, because what they're doing is they're pacing themselves.
And remember, if they watched our other episodes, let's say they bought the house, they may have gotten a good deal. They bought a house that needed some work.
Right.
So when you buy a house that needs some work, you don't just fill it with new furniture. You want to complete the work. You may move in and say, okay, I want to redo the bathroom this month, next month do the kitchen. And when the house, let's say a year and a half after you purchase the house, then you start buying the furniture, the new furniture, and making it look real nice on the outside.
Exactly. Speaking of
Yes.
furniture, I had a situation recently that happened. When you're buying a house, you got to think outside of the box. You got to
Yes.
figure. See, in order for you to get a good deal, you've got to be able to say to yourself, well, what can I do to improve this property to make it worth more money? Or what can I do to buy something that maybe somebody else saw a negative in, but I can see a positive in? I had
Exactly.
a client, and the house was perfect, everything she wanted, and she got all the way up to the 3rd level. It's a single-family house, but it's a bonus anyway. Just have the level upstairs was finished. And that in itself is a bonus, because most of those levels are not
Right, attics.
finished. And she was trying to figure out, well, it's a big family, what can I do? And since it's finished, I got everything I need, but can't put a bed up here, can't do this, can't do. She's thinking all things she could not do. And I said, why not? She said, it won't fit through the door. The door is a small door. And I said, well, look at it this way. If you look in the pictures when the house had been sold before, there was a large, big couch up here. And I said, how did that fit? I said, this is what you do. A lot of people now that are buying properties, they go to IKEA.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah, a lot of college students or
A lot of
people that
people
are
are
buying
IKEA.
homes.
Right,
IKEA is a huge name in the United States. I said, you go in there, they're not going to give you a couch to come out. They're going to give everything to you in a box.
A box with some instructions.
With some instructions.
Yes.
And you are going to put that couch together yourself. Mm-hmm. So now you go to IKEA, you buy all the furniture, you come to your house, you bring it up the steps, you bring it through that door, and you assemble it.
Yes.
Right, and there's your bed. It's assembled. Now so you can have king size, queen size,
Yep.
and when you move or if you ever sell the house, you disassemble it and you take it with you.
Exactly.
So you're thinking what you can't do physically in your mind. You've already poisoned your mind by what you can't do, and IKEA has already solved the problem because you don't have to bring it up the stairs.
Exactly.
Bring the parts up and assemble it and put it inside the house.
And one more other thing I wanted to touch at, back to when you first buy the house. Make sure you educate yourself on the house. We see people buying houses and they don't know what a hot water heater is.
Oh my
They don't know where
goodness.
the water is. They don't know where the circuit breaker or how the circuit breaker works. Tell them they'll own a $300,000 house and not know how it functions.
That's it.
Because they're used to renting, they have the landlord. But remember, you're the landlord now. Something breaks, it's up to you to fix it or hire a professional to fix it.
I advise everybody, if you're looking to purchase a property, go to the teacher, Universal, go to YouTube.
Yes.
You can YouTube just about anything in the world. Find out what you're doing. Find out how to fix it. Even when it comes to fixing things, figure out how to do it. What about the guy we told about glazing the tub?
Yes, he liked that idea. Yes, glazing the tub to make it look nice and shiny. Instead of buying a new tub or replacing it, there's little shortcuts that actually look very good in the end result. But I was going to say, also mention that we have some people, like, let's say a homeowner that's had their house for 10 years. What do you got, gas, oil? They say, I don't remember. It's one of my investment properties. Make sure you study your properties and know them inside out, because when you hire a professional, I'll say some professionals are out to make a buck. You want to make sure they're not going to get you.
Speaking of that, what you just said, when you're in, let's say, I know our conversation a lot is towards a single family or a person
Yes.
buying or selling a house or a single family. But let's say you have a property out there now. You need some advice if you're going to be an investor. Maybe you're going to buy
Yes.
another property. So if you're looking to purchase another property, some advice on doing that. Number one, we were talking about budget. Figure out what your budget is going to be. See if you're going to make a profit.
Yes.
In other words, you got to figure out what your carrying cost is going to be. What is your principal and interest going to be for that house? And you just mentioned, what if it comes to heating the house? If it's oil or is it gas? Are you, the landlord, going to be providing the heat, or are the tenants going to be paying for the heat? That's a big factor.
Big one.
And is it electric heat, gas heat, oil heat?
Yes.
Now, if the tenant is paying for the heat, you might say, well, what difference do I care whether it's gas, electric, or if it's the hot water or whatever it may be, oil? Because the tenant's paying for it, it makes a big difference.
Big difference.
You know why? Because you've got to make it easy for the tenant to be able to have money left over to pay you. Suppose you got a multifamily and it's electric heat, and the electric heat, say your rent
That's
is
expensive.
$1,200 a month, and the electric heat is $800 a month.
It can be. Yes, I've seen bills like that.
And now you're there holding your hand out for the rent, and they've got children and they've got electric heat. Well, they're not going to be freezing just to pay the rent to you. They're going to pay the heat, because the heat they need.
They need that. It's immediate. They need that.
So by you buying an investment property that relies on electric heat, you in essence are sort of like making it more difficult for yourself.
Yes, yes. Also, I was going to say, as you talk about people who are investing, make sure you know, like we talked to Connecticut here, but make sure you know what's going on in the government and the environment. We see the lead paint articles coming out more and more.
Yes.
I feel like when that finally hits, a lot of landlords are going to be caught by surprise. They don't realize Connecticut's getting real strict on buildings built before 1978. Very true.
You just hit on something that we need to talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
One of the new things coming in January of 2023,
Right around the corner.
right around the corner, is the state of Connecticut, for children between 3 and 6, they're going to be required in school that they be tested for lead paint.
For lead paint.
Now, what's that mean if you are a landlord out there and you have a multi-family, 2-3 family, and you have children there, and if you have lead paint, well, let's put it this way. If the building was built before 1978,
It's going to have lead paint.
I'll guarantee you 99% it's got lead paint. It's impossible unless you never painted the building, or not you, but whoever owned the building. They just built the house and never painted it, just left it bare.
Bare house.
And
that's not the case.
That's not the case. Nobody built a house and just left the walls bare and didn't paint the wood or nothing. They painted them. Now, what's that mean? Well, if it was before 1978, mostly all the paint had lead in it.
Yes.
It made it for the coloring.
That was the standard back then.
Sticking to the walls. That's the way it was. Just like most gas stations sold lead gas.
Yep.
So now, come along 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years later, that paint is still there. Now, what happened, hopefully, in some cases, is that, you painted the house maybe several times since then. So now the new paint didn't have lead paint in it.
Nope.
So you painted over the lead paint many times. Or maybe on the outside, up in the top of near the roof or other areas of the house, it was never painted.
Never painted.
You know how you can go by some houses and you look up and there's just chip paint
There's
all
chip
over the
paint
place.
everywhere.
It never been painted. So now what happens is that lead paint is still there, but it's behind the original paint.
Yes.
Now, if you sell a house, what'll happen is that you're okay as long as the paint has not chipped.
Not disturbed or anything.
Not disturbed. If you rub your hand across the paint, you're going to only touch the paint that was put there over and over again, which has no lead in it.
No lead.
But it's still lead paint behind the old paint, the new paint. So now what happens is if you go and you do renovation, you put in the new windows, or you tear down the wall, well, you know how when you see the highway, you're driving along the highway and they're tearing up the highway and the jackhammers there's dust all over the place.
Yes.
That made me think about it just now because
that's a good example.
I came on the highway recently, and one of the highways locally, they're digging up the the highway.
Yes.
And you come through it and you got to roll up all your windows and everything.
You want that dust coming in.
Dust is coming all inside, all over.
And why don't you want it? Because you're going to breathe that in.
You're going to breathe it into your lungs.
Yes. Which is the case with the children being tested at the school.
Exactly.
When this lead paint is disturbed, let's say you do a renovation on the house and there's lead paint there, it creates a dust and chips. And an infant, a young kid may not know what it is. And it does have, a sweet taste to it. So they may eat a couple things of the lead. That can be poison. That is poison. They'll get lead poisoning. So say in an unfortunate event, a school tests a child, they're positive for lead paint. They're going to go to that landlord. They're going to say, who owns the house? Why is there lead paint there?
That's right.
And tell them how difficult it is to get lead paint out of an entire 3-family house.
Oh, my God.
What's required?
Oh, my God.
A bunch of headaches.
It's more than headaches. In the past, landlords said, if you got tagged with lead paint, you might as well just hand your keys to the mortgage company.
There you go.
It's over.
It's over with.
It's over with. Because what happens is that, and here's the worst case situation. Let's say you just rented to this family, and the family has children, and now the children get tested next year, which they haven't been tested in the past.
Yep.
And now the child is found to have lead paint, which is a dangerous thing, and it's a bad thing, and something has to happen to make sure that the child is safe. So now they give the address of your property, they come to your property, and the child could have had that lead paint in their system for 3-4 years.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Where they to the apartment that they came from. You have a nice apartment, and they left an apartment that was decrepit, falling apart, and you did a good job, gave them a really nice apartment. However, because now your address is where they're living, you're it.
You're it. They're going to say, well, it must be your property.
Exactly. Well, they'll look at the past addresses, but because you're there, they have no choice but to test your property. And what they have is a machine. It's like an X-ray machine, and they aim that X-ray machine at the wall, that flooring, They even go outside and take dirt samples.
Yes, yes. Gets in the soil also.
They look into the soil. If they find any types of residue or reading that's high, you then have to eradicate the lead paint.
And that involves moving every tenant out, no matter what floor, because the house has to be empty, fumigated in so much word.
What they do is they put signs up.
Mm-hmm.
They put signs up to warn the neighbors. You know, like it's like when you cut the grass. You know, like you fertilize your grass.
Yep.
You put those little flags all over your yard. You got to warn everybody that I've got chemicals in my
Chemicals
yard.
in the grass. Don't
You know,
step on the grass.
Hazardous material.
Yes, yes.
So now you've got lead paint in your building. And you've got to put signs up notifying the neighbors and notifying everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do the work unless you're lead certified.
It has to be licensed.
Licensed. So now you hire an individual or a company that's certified. They come
Yes.
out. They put plastic around the house.
Whole house covered.
Everything. You know, you can't leave the tenants in there while you're banging on the walls.
You have to pay for the relocation costs.
Tenants got to move.
Yes.
It's not their fault. They got to move. So you're responsible for relocating them to a safe house
Yep.
while you do the work. So if you got it in your wall, you can either encapsulate, which means that you can cover up the
Contain it.
lead paint. You can. Some people on the outside put siding, any way in which it can't be touched or disturbed. There's all sorts of ways, but it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yes, yes.
And here's the worst part, 99% of the time, this is not covered by insurance.
Oh, no.
They have an exclusion. Read your insurance policies and see what it says about lead paint.
Yes.
See the exclusion. We do not cover lead paint.
Because even they know it's going to be
They
expensive.
know they don't want to get involved in that. So,
Yes.
in other words, we gotta continue on with this.
We're going to continue this because one thing is
this is extremely
very important. Because we've been talking to the home buyers. There's a lot of investors that watch, people that own properties.
Right.
And we're going to make a series where we talk about what you should be knowing about what's going on now and what's gone in the past.
Right. Maybe even we will have an expert licensed person come in
Yes.
and we'll do it. I think that'll be a good
That'd be
program.
good, yes.
We can interview him because this is a new law that was signed by the governor. It was signed, I think, last week, and it takes effect January.
Very, very soon.
All of the investors, all the people, anyone out there that rents, you need to know this, and I can't emphasize to you the severity of this, because if something happens, it can cost you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and it doesn't end. So hopefully we gave you some information today that was helpful. Again, I'm Charles Scott.
I'm Charles Scott Jr.
You want to close it out?
Oh, yes. Like I said before, we're here to help the people. We'll give you free information. Give us a call if you have any questions, and we'll see you next week.
Until next week, God bless.
Amen.